Hello there, you're watching Al24 News with me, Nadia Kasmi. First, in our top stories, Sahrawi Army Chief of Staff Mohammed Al-Wali Akik said that his country's army is fully prepared to liberate all occupied Sahrawi lands and achieve independence, calling on commercial companies to stay away from investing in the occupied territories because they are a war zone and unsafe. On the occasion of the first year upon Morocco's violation of ceasefire agreement on November the 13th, 2020, using an illegal loophole in Gargarat, saying that the Sahrawi army commemorates the anniversary victoriously as the occupation army suffers heavy losses in lives and equipment, adding that the Sahrawi army is fully prepared to continue armed resistance until independence is achieved, threatening to expand battlefields beyond separation wall. Libyan Prime Minister Abdelhamid Dbeiba said on Friday that he would hand over power if elections were held in a consensual and fair manner between all parties. This came in a statement by Dbeiba during a press conference in Paris following an international conference on Libya. Zahra Farjani reports.
The international conference on Libya was concluded by approving the timetable for the presidential and parliamentary elections, also threatening to impose sanctions on poll obstructors. The heads of government and the Presidential Council in Libya pledged to hand over power to whomever is chosen by the people in the event that fair and transparent elections are held in a consensual manner among all parties.
We seek to establish real guarantee for accepting the results of these elections and to impose sanctions on those who obstruct and reject these results. If the electoral process is conducted in an impartial manner, I will hand over power to the elected party chosen by the Libyan people.
We agree that legislative matters are parliamentary competence. Therefore, we will support the work of the Commission. Also, the parliamentary and presidential elections will be held on December 24th. And as promised, we will hand over power to the elected party.
Nonetheless, there are different opinions on the exit of foreign forces from Libya. While French President stressed the need for Turkey and Russia to withdraw mercenaries without delay, German Chancellor Angela Merkel said that Ankara still had some reservations, but Moscow expressed its willingness to support a mutual withdrawal of forces from Libya. The presidential elections scheduled for next December 24th are seen as a defining moment in the peace process backed by the United Nations to end a decade of chaos in the country.
The United States and Western powers expressed deep concerns over the appointment of the Sudanese Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, a new sovereignty council, and said that the move complicates efforts to restore the democratic transition process on its track, and urged the United States, Britain, Norway, the European Union, and Switzerland, the security services in Sudan, to respect the right to freedom of expression. This comes before the protests are scheduled to take place today, Saturday. President of the Arab League states Ahmed Abul Ghait warned against accepting the Zionist proposals regarding the contentment of improving living conditions of the Palestinians. Abul Ghait made it clear during his meeting with Council President on the sidelines of the Paris Summit on Libya that this proposal would be doomed to failure. Sid Islam reports.
The president of the Arab States League, Ahmed Abul Ghait, warned against accepting the Zionist proposal on simply improving the living conditions for the Palestinians. During his meeting on the sidelines of Paris Summit on Libya, Abul Ghait made it clear that this proposal would be predestined to failure. Bassam Abu Sharif, advisor to the late President Yasser Arafat, also stated to our channel that 15 years of siege on Gaza Strip and the Judaization of Quds. The occupation continues to be manipulated by the power of a new Zionist day of bargaining promoted during the Paris Conference on Libya. He added that the Zionist submissions come at a time when pressure is being exerted on the Palestinian Authority and $32 million per month in Palestinian task revenue funds, bringing the total amount of the rights of the Palestinian people held by the Zionist entity to $641 million. It's worth mentioning that the Zionist economic plan, which will fail before it begins, for what it sees as poverty, unemployment, increase in numbers of unemployed people, and besieging Gaza. continues the struggle summed up by Palestinian prisoners with hunger strikes for more than 100 days in a row.
Lebanese Minister of Information George Qardahi said Friday, after his meeting with the Speaker of the Lebanese Parliament, Nabih Berri, that he is ready to resign if there are unspecified guarantees after the Gulf countries took several measures against Lebanon. European authorities announced the EU's intention to establish new criteria for imposing sanctions on individuals and entities who enable illegal immigration into communist countries from Belarus. Plus, Turkey bans nationals from Iraq, Syria, and Yemen from traveling to Belarus amid EU pressure over migrants stranded at Belarus border with Poland. Let's follow this report.
The European Union intends to establish new criteria for imposing sanctions against individuals and organizations who are facilitating illegal entries to Belarus. According to European Union members who prefer to keep their names a secret, these criteria are intended at developing a legal framework that will assist in penalizing those who put the lives of unauthorized migrants in danger during the winter. Several asylum seekers attempted to cross the border from Belarus into Poland. According to the Polish news agency, there are approximately 4,000 asylum seekers on the border currently. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko is held accountable for organizing the arrival of flood of migrants on the eastern side of the border in reaction to European sanctions imposed on his nation following his regime's brutal repression of the opposition.
To address this situation, we have to see which is the scope of the existing sanctions regime on Belarus and to expand it. We are studying how to expand it in order to adopt it will be the fifth one, a new package of sanctions, which will include those responsible for contributing to the ongoing crisis in our external borders.
Also, it is worth mentioning that the Turkish Civil Aviation Authority said citizens of Iraq, Syria, and Yemen would not be allowed on flights from Turkey to Belarus because of the problem of illegal border crossing between the European Union and Belarus. It said citizens of these countries would be prevented from buying tickets or boarding flights to Belarus until further notice. Belarusian state airline Belivia said it was complying with the order.
And still with the same story, Belarus threatens to cut gas supply to EU if it imposes sanctions over the migrant crisis at its western border. Russian President Vladimir Putin describes his Belarusian counterpart's threat as a legitimate warning and a serious proposal. Asma reports.
European Union accused Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko of arming thousands of people gathering in frozen campsites at the border with Poland. On the other side, Lukashenko announced retaliation threats of shutting down Russian gas transit to Germany.
We have increased the volumes of natural gas pumped via Belarus. The amount Europe pump line is full. We are heating Europe and they are threatening us to close the border. And what if we blocked supply of natural gas there? If the European Union continues ordering additional sanctions on us, we must respond.
In statements to the official Vesti network, Russian President Putin has denied that Alexander Lukashenko consulted him before passing Belarus paper on ending Russian gas supply to Europe, considering Minsk's move unilateral.
Honestly, this is the first time I hear of this, because I spoke twice with Alexander Lukashenko and he didn't even give hints.
However, Putin supports Belarus' threats position. In his second phone call with German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Putin spoke in favor of restoring contacts between European Union states and Belarus in order to solve this issue. On the impact of Belarusian threats to stop the flow of Russian gas through the largest pipeline to provide the old continent with the blue energy resource, gas prices in Europe rose by about 13%. Meanwhile, European Union is moving to impose more economic sanctions against Minsk, including banning Belarusian planes from flying through European airspace.
UN Security Council decided today, Saturday, to extend the mandate of the United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in the Central African Republic, MINUSCA, until the 15th of November 2022, outlining a range of mandated tasks from civilian protection to the promotion and protection of human rights. A top Thai court says that demands for royal reform is an attempt to overthrow the political system. The court adds that the three leaders of the demonstrations might face charges of treason at a time when several anti-government organizations have called for a massive protest in Bangkok tomorrow, Sunday. More in this report.
Thai court ruled that protesters' demands are unconstitutional after months of demonstrations which sparked disobedience and outrage among protesters, who are set to gather on Sunday. The court raised concerns that the three activists leading the demonstrations could face high treason charges after about 18 months of protests against the government. It explains that their speeches aimed at overthrowing the constitutional monarchy, and any legislative reforms can undermine the monarchy and cause disobedience among the people. The ruling followed months of demonstrations that began in July 2020, during which protesters demanded not only the resignation of the government, but also the reform of the country's powerful and wealthy monarchy. The unprecedented demands have intensified the public debate surrounding the palace and put an end to a long-standing taboo of open criticism of the royal institution. Several anti-government groups called for a large-scale demonstrations in Bangkok on Sunday after one of the biggest protests in the last few months.
And finally, Algeria secured a rather comfortable win in Egypt over Djibouti for 2-0 and keeps its position at the top of the pool. The encounter was held in Cairo Stadium as part of the fourth round of 2022 World Cup qualifiers. More in this report.
Djibouti welcomed Algeria at the Cairo International Stadium in Egypt for the fifth match of the FIFA World Cup African qualifiers. A nice ball from Bedran to Belaili and the contact with the Djiboutian defender. The referee points to the spot, whistling a penalty for Algeria. Belaili's kick was saved by Mboni Ankwe. Only a minute after missing the penalty, Youssef Belaili scores the first goal of Algeria in the game. Said Ben Rahma, with a great accuracy, makes the Algerians celebrate again with a second goal. The West Ham United forward scored his first goal as an international player. Before the break, Sofiane Feghouli, Algeria's captain for the match, and with a nice finish, Sofiane scores the third goal for the African champion. Before the end of the game, Algeria's all-time top scorer Islam Slimani follows up a bad saving from the Djiboutian goalkeeper, scoring the fourth goal for Algeria. The Algerian national team remains undefeated for the 32nd time.
That's all for me, Nadia Kasmi, and the rest of the team. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.